Las Vegas Gambling on Water. This is a documentary that I made on a budget of $300. I used a consumer camcorder, my personal computer at home to edit the film. I wanted somehow to be able to get the word out to people and let them know exactly how bad things are in Las Vegas as far as the drought is concerned. I learned a lot while making this film, and I hope after you watch it you learn something as well. And maybe together we can find a way to conserve more water and still have growth. But we need to control that growth at a level that's reasonable. As you can see behind me at this paving company, they've been watering this mountain behind me for no apparent reason all weekend long. Plants has been shut down since Friday. It's Sunday late afternoon, and this mountain is getting plenty of water for no reason. My parents were married in Chicago, Illinois in 1958. My father worked in the gaming business, so in 1960 they packed up and moved to Las Vegas. Population under 200,000. Today it's more like 1.6 million. As far back as I can remember, we always had a swimming pool in our backyard. And just about everyone we knew had a swimming pool. I guess that was the start of this love affair with water and Las Vegas. I read an interesting article the other day. In the 1990s, Las Vegas per capita consumed more water than anywhere in the entire world. 4 times as much as Philadelphia, twice as much as Phoenix, Arizona. You could argue that that was the beginning of the problem we are in now with water in Las Vegas.
The drought watch, in my eyes, has been going on for 6 years, so I don't think anybody's fooling anybody here. Most of the public probably is fooled because they run the, I see the sentimental commercials, the kids, please save some water for us. That's all nice and good, but the fact is, 5 years ago, where was the commercial? Because, in my opinion, they knew. If I knew, they knew, okay? I'm just a fisherman. My holes are disappearing on the north end there, and I just keep moving down, but that's not normal because it doesn't come back the next year because there is no thaw, because there is no snow. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out we do live in a desert, okay? First of all, you wouldn't stand for it in any state because it's ludicrous to think that they could take something away from you, and to compensate their loss, they're going to charge you more, so you lose double. You lose more money and you lose the water. This is for you politicians. I'm going to donate $20 to California's Water Commission to purify their salt water to, use it for irrigation. And if you think I'm lying, just bill me, because you already did.
Well, I actually think the drought has a lot of positive aspects for us, because I think as a community we need to wake up and realize that we live in the desert. So you look at some of the features of the drought plan, it is going to require an awful lot of any new development to come up with higher standards to make that new development much more efficient than what we built in the past. So I think it's going to be a learning experience for us. I think we're going to learn how to live more sustainably in the desert because of it. And in a way, maybe that's the silver lining.
What is the one most important thing that you could ask residents to do to help out with this drought that we're in?
Well, the most critical thing for us is water that's used outdoors. We in some respects, have the ability to recapture all the water that's used indoors in the valley. What's vital to us is water that comes out of the Colorado River, is used in the valley, and then evaporates into the air. No opportunity to reuse that again. So the outdoor use is most critical to us, and in this valley, most of that outdoor use is used in landscaping. If people want to improve water efficiency, the first place to look is in their own landscape. So we can plant a lot of beautiful plants that are better adapted to the desert climate, and we need to look around and choose carefully where is it appropriate to put turf grass and where would other types of plantings that use less water be more appropriate. That's the one thing. The larger the resort, the mega resort, is actually more efficient than the small hotel. And so the more rooms we pack into that, the less consumptive water use that we have per unit of visitors. And so these large mega resorts actually return 80 to 85% of their water via the sanitary sewer where it can be recovered. Just 15% of it is consumed consumptively in the landscaping, the swimming pools, and the single largest use, the cooling towers. And so I think that's a message that a lot of Las Vegas citizens haven't gotten related to resort use.
For us to have to control how we water and what we water, when we water, is just ridiculous. I know it's a drought, but if they controlled the golf courses, the resorts, there'd be plenty of water for the public.
100 to 1 ratio. The amount of water the casinos use cannot compare. But yet they can continue to build them. I mean, that's fine. Whatever they got to do, except for they're going to make us pay for it.
Can one good winter, one good snowfall in the Rockies pull Las Vegas out of this drought?
We're in a drought right now that researchers are saying, based on tree rings in the Colorado River Basin, is worse than any conditions they've seen in 1,400 years.
Yeah, it's going to take, even based on good average years of snowfall in the Rockies, it would take, in my opinion, probably 4 to 5 years to recover the loss that's already occurred.
A few wet winters, if you will, to get the runoff back to where we need it to be.
Las Vegas has an addiction to water, our most precious resource. Everywhere you look, there seems to be water. Not something you would expect to see in a city that annually gets less than 4 inches of rain per year. It seems nearly every resort uses water to draw tourism into their establishment. Las Vegas is the hottest, driest desert in North America and is already struggling with the water shortage, and the problem is expected to reach a crisis point by 2010. I drove out to Boulder City. It's about 35 miles outside of Las Vegas. Boulder City is famous for the Hoover Dam. They're also a little famous right now for not following along with the Southern Nevada Water Authority's drought plan, which is no mist systems and no small fountains. So I went to City Hall. I wanted to try and talk to somebody. I was able to go right into City Hall and make an appointment that day with the mayor. He explained to me that Boulder City is in a slow growth plan, and they have been for quite a while.
Well, I was here when we established the ordinance in 1979. Because I started with the city in 1976.
I read an interesting article the other day where Boulder City uses less water than their allotment, and that water that they have left over, they always give to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is now more dependent on that water than ever before.
We have an allotment, Colorado River allotment, of just over 19,000 acre feet per year. And we have not come close to using that. And then during this drought condition that's come up on us in the last couple of years, everybody has taken a reduction in the amount of water that they can withdraw. And so our amount now is down to just over 17,000 acre feet. But we're not using 17,000 acre feet, so there is water available, which we have no, have no qualms about supplying the greater Las Vegas area with that water, and so we've been doing that. Yeah, we're using, we're probably using somewhere in the neighborhood of about 14,000 acre feet at the present time. So we have a leeway there of several thousand acre feet that's not being used.
It seems whenever the subject of growth in Las Vegas is brought up, it's hushed up immediately. Clark County Commissioner Myrna Williams was quoted as saying, "Nobody can say they haven't benefited from growth, including Boulder City, whether they allow growth or not."
Yeah, I read that, yes, I did read that.
Do you think that's, I mean, obviously, yes, they have gained because of the excess people or
well, sure. If you want to take a look at gain, yes, as far as having more facilities available to the residents of Boulder City, sure, they're available within a 25 to 30-minute drive because it's part of the metropolitan area of the greater Las Vegas. But I think somewhere along the way, someone has to begin to realize that growth cannot just continue to happen. There has to be some means of controlling it, and the obvious means of controlling it now is through water restrictions, because there just isn't enough water to supply all of the area that requires water.
If Las Vegas put on a growth freeze, would it hurt the economy of the city that bad?
Of Las Vegas?
Yes.
I don't know that it would. What was happening in the greater Las Vegas area as far as this rapid growth as it's taking place is the fact that there are some limiting restrictions, and that restriction, of course, is water.
Yeah. Is there any type of workshop that you can hold up here to get the politicians of Las Vegas?
Well, they're aware of it, but they're also keenly aware of the fact that they've had a great desire to continue to grow because they like the tax monies that are associated with that growth.
One of the most amazing things I discovered while making this film is how hard it is to get a local politician to talk to you about the drought here in Las Vegas. I sent several emails and many phone calls, and finally got a woman at Rory Reed's office to talk to me. She asked me who I was with and what the film was about. I told her basically I was by myself, and the film's about the drought here in Las Vegas. I guess she meant who is backing the film financially. Same thing. I said, I just need 5 minutes of Mr. Reed's time, ask a few questions. She told me, well, he's busy right now. I said, a week from now, I can shoot down and we can do the interview. Well, he's all booked up for the week. I said, how about a month? I'll give you a month notice. You got it. He was still booked up. This time we're at a Clark County school, and as you can see from behind me, once again, the county is leading by example in this drought of Las Vegas. They are watering past the restrictions set by the Water Authority of Southern Nevada.
We are installers of synthetic turf products, from putting greens to synthetic lawn materials that look and feel just like natural grass. We know you're coming in from somewhere that's lush and green and rains and has natural grass everywhere, but we're now in the desert. Okay, reality, all right, we have a limited resource that's very, very, dear to us.
In the past, I think there's been concerns about quality of that artificial turf and what it looks like when the sun beats down on it for a couple of years, but what you're seeing now is a little better quality come out of some companies. And people are starting to consider it. I know the Water Authority is reviewing it and trying to get information about the different manufacturers. And, it's one of those things that I think it needs more research, but when you go through droughts like this, you're going to get more of those.
What we have here is what we call our Sinfully Lush Lawn, sin being spelled S-Y-N for synthetic. And it's a little catchphrase we use, Sinfully Lush Lawn. And it's very, very different from most of the products people are used to seeing for synthetic turf in regards to, like we said earlier, it's got varying blade height, varying blade width, 2 different color yarns, and the yarn is what's called a low luster, delustered yarn, so it doesn't have that sparkly shine to it like a lot of the products that you've seen in the past. This product right here was developed about 8 months ago by my office here, and it's pretty unique. There's nothing else out there, similar to it.
Now, the city of Henderson, they are following the Southern Nevada Water Authority's drought plan, right?
That's correct. We all worked together to put together that drought plan. Went in front of the Southern Nevada Water Authority Board and also went in front of our respective council for approval, and that was done in spring. And since that time, we've moved forward with putting the ordinances into place to enact the provisions of the drought plan. And as you know, we live in the desert, and we haven't always behaved like we live in a desert. So I think what we're trying to do is educate people so that they know, we're out in the middle of the desert. We can't use water like you would if you're up in the Northwest or if you're somewhere where you get lots of rainfall and it's not 115 degrees. So there's a big educational component here, and we do hear those things from people, and what we try to do is educate them that this is a precious resource. We need to conserve. We need to be concerned about the drought, and even in the long term, we need to be concerned about conservation because, it's a pretty vibrant community. We want to keep it that way, and we also want to maintain the quality of life that we've had.
Right.
Now that may mean that you can't have grass in your front and backyard, but we still want to make sure the people that have lived here or are going to live here in the future have a decent quality of life.
Today we're out in front of the Las Vegas Valley Water District. Something unique is happening today. The local construction unions are picketing to slow the growth of Las Vegas. Even though this will cost them jobs, they see the foresight that if they don't slow it down today, it will cost them tens of thousands of jobs tomorrow.
We're picketing. This is the Musicians Union of Las Vegas. Frank Leone, President. Tom Pastor, Secretary Treasurer. And we're picketing here in support of the ethical and moral position that the Teamsters have taken in regard to the growth happening at an overly rapid pace in Las Vegas Valley. We want to outrun our water supply because it could potentially devastating.
You know, just how much greed and avarice on the part of the home builders who build homes and then suitcase the money out to California, all the variances that come before the county commission, these towers that the hotels want to build in some of our most pristine, beautiful land, Red Rock Canyon. All of this, to me, is very ugly. And it's just the profit factor as far as I can see it. It's time for all of Southern Nevadans to get involved and to wake up to what greed and avarice is teaching us if we just open our eyes.
Where there is no vision, the people perish.
My name is Lambis Papelis, and I am a associate research professor with the Division of Hydrologic Sciences of the Desert Research Institute. I'm also the director of the Water Resources Management program on campus at UNLV, which is an interdisciplinary program in the College of Sciences. So we draw from expertise from faculty from a number of different departments and colleges, including DRI. So, and we're looking at any kind of issue which has to do with management of water resources, both in terms of quality and quantity and policy. Perchlorate issue has been around for a while, and it has been more of like a household item, I guess, the last few years when people were finding perchlorate in the lake. Initially, actually, what happened is they found it down in Southern California, and then they traced it back from Southern California all the way up back to the Colorado River, and of course Colorado River, Lake Mead, and from Lake Mead back to the Las Vegas wash. So it was basically produced as part of the perchlorate production from two chemical plants in the Las Vegas area, in Henderson area, basically for decades. So we kind of knew about that, but the project that I was a co-PI with faculty of the civil engineering and UNLV was trying to find out where is it coming from. Well, we knew the general area, but where is it going, how fast is it going to get down to the wash, what the concentrations are. So we did surveys up and down the entire wash area and down in the Boulder Basin of Lake Mead. In general, for just about any contaminant, as you have the same amount of material, if it's dissolved in a smaller quantity of water, the concentration goes up. So even if we keep putting exactly the same amount of perchlorate down in the lake, if the amount of water we have for dilution goes down, the concentrations are going to go up. Perchlorate would be one example. Total organic carbon would be another example. Nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, just about everything goes up in concentration. The total capacity of the lake right now is roughly about 60%, 59 to 60% of its total capacity. So it has gone down quite a bit. You can see that once you go down to the lake. You can see all the bathtub rain, basically. We have an average income of about, inflow of about 15 million acre feet. So an acre foot is 1 acre size times 1 foot deep. So the entire inflow average is about 15 million acre feet, out of which theoretically 7.5 million go to the upper Colorado basin, 7.5 million go down to the lower Colorado basin, and then we're going to have another 1.5 million for Mexico. So you add them all up, you come up with 16.5 million acre feet, when the average inflow is 15. So we're short a little bit.
And obviously right now we know that 30% of the water being used in the valley is being used inappropriately. People overwatering their lawns, running sprinklers when the wind's blowing 50 miles an hour. Things that in a lot of cases with a little bit of effort they could eliminate. Grass in kooky places where it probably doesn't belong. What we'd like to see is that we deal with those issues right here at home first.
We're at Silverado Ranch Park in Las Vegas, Nevada, one of the newer parks. It's about a year old. It is 11:31 in the a.m. That would be 31 minutes past the restrictions set by the Las Vegas Valley Water District, which is no watering past 11 a.m. But as you can see behind me, there's plenty of water going on this baseball field at this park. I've been out here about 30 minutes, and probably 26 of those 30 minutes, the watering has been going on in the same spot. So not only is this park breaking the Water District's rules of no watering past 11 a.m., they're actually overwatering as well.
Yeah, Bill Walters, and we own and operate 6 golf courses in Las Vegas. The Bali High Golf Club that's located on the Las Vegas Strip, the Desert Pines Golf Club that's located in downtown Las Vegas, the Royal Lakes Golf Club, and Stallion Mountain Country Club.
And Stallion has 3 golf courses on there, right?
Stallion has 3 18-hole golf courses, which makes us have a total of 6 golf courses currently. The way the water rates are set up, residential users are charged a much smaller rate than obviously large users of water are. So they're a lot less obviously to conserve water because of the insignificant amount of the cost. The huge cost burden is passed on to the commercial users and obviously the golf courses. The golf course industry here is in a depression.
October 1st, 1999, the Planning Commission of Clark County gave you the go-ahead to build Valley High Golf Course.
When they approve those things and they allow people to go out and invest millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then basically they come in and essentially reshuffle the deck after you've invested your life savings, and you've gone out and you've hawked everything you've got to mortgage something. It's basically, it's almost like they're condemning your property. It's almost like they're taking this water and they're going to make it available for someone else to build houses with. But politically, it's much easier for them to beat up on golf courses and commercial users than it is residential users. There's more people obviously that vote from the residential side than there is from the business side. So this is a large part about politics. What's the most popular thing to do instead of what's the right thing to do?
Behind me, there used to be a beautiful marina called the Las Vegas Bay Marina. It's gone now due to the drought in Las Vegas. The levels in the lake have dropped so much in the last year that marina has had to move to Hemingway Harbor, about 12 miles down. We're at the Lake Mead Marina. Right now that water level is towering over the boats that are in harbor. They're currently trying to lift the anchors to move this marina further out into the lake. Some people say it's not going to work because the water levels just keep dropping too much. If it continues, this marina is going to be in dire straits.
I'm Bob Gripentag. I'm Vice President, General Manager of the Las Vegas Boat Harbor here on Lake Mead. Before next summer, which when we actually, that's going to be like March, April, we'll start seeing the droppage, but we should lose 10 to 12, maybe 15 feet as the drought continues. Even if we should get a good snowpack, we will lose at least part of that. Should the water continue to just drop and we continue into drought, there could be a point where there is no place for the marinas to sit. My opinion probably is not a very good one, but my opinion is that they should be putting more regulations on Southern California rather than Southern Nevada. Southern California collects most of the water, collects most of the power, and we collect very, very small amount of it in the Southern Nevada area by comparison to what they collect in Southern California. And they haven't done anything to start regulations down there. But yet we are on water rationing for our homes and all here, and yet they use most of the water.
Good point. 17 miles from the Las Vegas Strip is Lake Las Vegas, a very high-end resort community. Homes start around $1 million in this master plan development. They have 3 golf courses, an amazing seafront village filled with restaurants and shops. They have a Hyatt Regency hotel as well as a Ritz-Carlton hotel. Everything you would need in a resort destination. While shooting this footage, I asked several sales representatives where the water came from to keep this 320-acre lake so full. They all told me, almost as if it has been scripted, that anytime it rains in Las Vegas, the water is collected in the wash, then they take that water, they run it through their own special filtration system, and then they release that water into Lake Las Vegas. This way visitors, as well as residents, can sit and gaze over this full, clean lake while enjoying their mochas and lattes. Meanwhile, the level at Lake Mead continues to drop. Lake Las Vegas, I was out there last week shooting footage. I talked to salespeople in the area selling homes, and they were telling me that the lake is kept full from runoff, and then they have a filtration system that keeps it full. But I found out that it's actually not from runoff, that it's pumped directly from Lake Mead.
That's correct.
They're making lakes out of water. They say it's reclaimed water, but still the evaporation, they still have to get more water and more water and more water, and it's just a never-ending process. The building of all this, of all the residential and all the casinos, it's ridiculous that they should have waterways in their casinos to have boats floating around, have water shows that go on every 15 minutes, and 120-degree temperature out there. The water's just evaporating so at such a rapid pace. They want to say it doesn't, but when it shoots in the air, those drops are coming down a tenth of the size. And when it goes on all on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's just a never-ending process, 9 months out of the year.
5 less casinos of such superstructure that it's impossible to fathom the increase. There's no way with the water going down that these superstructures could go up and just blast water. I mean, I'm sure Bellagio, Mandalay Bay, Aladdin, Paris, Venetian, these are all casinos that weren't here when I got here. You know, I can't imagine the Bellagio using much water since they have a garden twice the size of my lot.
His Las Vegas Review-Journal, there's a nice article about County Commissioner Mark James and County Commissioner Rory Reed, both of whom refused to have an interview with me about this documentary I'm making about the drought that we're currently in Las Vegas. Yet behind me you see this huge billboard advertising a huge development that's going to be built. Hotels, thousands of timeshares, thousands of condos. How can you allow such growth when the city is in such dire straits when it comes to water? Their answer in this article points out that they are more concerned about contributions that were given to their campaigns from builders, developers like Del Webb and Party, and so on and so forth. It's time that politicians stop worrying about their contribution campaigns and start worrying about the drought that this city is in.
It really should make a lot of people angry, and they don't want to stop the flow of people moving to Las Vegas.
Slow the growth of the city down.
When you say slow the growth, you're talking about housing?
Not letting the builders build dozens and dozens of tract homes on each block and throw them up every month. Just letting hundreds and hundreds of families move here. They want the city to be so large because the greed of all the owners of the casinos is so vast that the more people they get here, the more local people they get here, the more people they have to gamble. That they have a guarantee they're going to gamble.
But if they can't control the growth, then they shouldn't build any more homes.
A lot of people concerned about the drought here in town. In fact, one local man says he is just trying to keep his hometown from drying up. With a $300 budget, a camcorder, and a home computer, Scott Buzz, this guy right here, created a documentary called Las Vegas Gambling on Water. It targets Southern Nevada's drought. With the interviews, the filming, and the editing, it took him about 1 year to finish. He says there were times when he just wanted to quit, but after winning numerous awards for it, he's glad he finished. Scott says when it comes to the drought, the biggest problem he found in Southern Nevada is valley growth.